Hello there and welcome back to the Podcast Daily. It is Wednesday. It is time for a Stock Watch. That is Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham, and I am Austin Ward. And we are about to check the market, the movers, the shakers, the ups and downs. As Ohio State moved to 10-0 by beating Indiana handedly on Saturday, and they're getting ready for Maryland at 3:30 on Saturday, the last 2 weeks of the regular season, the last road trip. Who's been making the big moves heading into this closing stretch? Berm.
I mean, I said it on Tuesday, Snap Judgments. It's got to be Ty Hamilton, has to be your first pick. He has the last 2 weeks been the starter at defensive tackle alongside Teron Vincent and has played pretty well. I mean, he's not out there making a bunch of sacks like Michael Hall does when he gets in there, but he's not getting run over like other guys do when they get in there. So he's taking that middle portion of the defensive line and standing it up. And when you have that complementing what Teron Vincent does, where he's a little bit quicker and able to kind of stop a push and then get off and do a tackle, that combination is pretty good when you have him, Teron and JT Tuimoloau and Zach Harrison out there together. So Ty Hamilton is up, and it's about time, because if we go back to the preseason and talk about the guys that we were like expecting to hear a lot from this year, Ty Hamilton was one of those guys on the very preseason list of Stock Watch that were like, this guy's got to be moving up, because there was a lot of buzz about him, and now you're starting to see it come to fruition.
And I think Ohio State is starting to drill down and settle on what that unit needs to look like if they're going to stop the run on November 26th. Clearly, what we saw against Northwestern is informative from that regard. They weren't going to throw, and Ty Hamilton was out there extensively and has now started 2 weeks in a row and been key in that. So you have to assume, based on that workload, that that's where that's trending. Teron Vincent, we know, is going to be a key part of that. And then Mike Hall's health is going to be a factor in that to keep an eye on, just how much, whether Ohio State's been trying to manage that just to keep him healthy so that he's ready for the rivalry game. I guess we'll find out in a week's time. But either way, Ty Hamilton has had to go out there and deliver, and he has. That's a great point, Bro.
I just want to go back and watch like the last couple of games just to see what he's, because defensive tackles are kind of hard to keep your eye on, but Jim Knowles was pretty effusive in his praise of how Ty Hamilton has played. I will go on the other line, shockingly. Josh Fryer.
Maybe I should have gone first today.
Yeah, probably. I thought he would have been the obvious one, but Ty Hamilton is also a good choice. He played exceptionally well against Indiana. I still don't quite know what to make of it. Like Ryan Day got asked about him on Tuesday and said, great out of champion. It was a step forward for the offensive line. And we've changed up the question situation here a little bit. So I got to ask two. I didn't get to ask about it. But my question is okay, now what? So I guess I'll ask that on Thursday, because I don't know. It sounded to me like Josh Fryer's a guy they want to continue to find ways to get into the mix, whatever that looks like. So regardless of what it looks like next week or moving forward, he played very well, and I think should have made a lot of people feel good about what's to come for the future of the line, even if that means next season.
Maybe not just in the Bison package.
It is called the Bison package.
I hadn't heard that before until Tuesday. That was interesting.
I love
it's like Bison, as a meat to as an alternative.
Bison
beef.
burger is a heck of a
It's delightful.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you should
stock up on Bison.
stock way up if you can get your hands on some Bison burgers. Those are two good picks. I definitely would have agreed that their stock is trending in the right direction, just as it is.
Let me guess.
I wonder who it's going to be.
Is it Cameron Brown?
How did you know?
Just a wild guess.
Huh. Wow. I guess some stocks are just too obvious. I am very happy for Cameron Brown. It's not meant to take anything away from Cam Babb or Xavier Johnson's rise. I feel like what Cam did on Saturday was probably rightfully overlooked, but shouldn't be in terms of the long-term value for Ohio State. He got out-bodied by a tight end in the red zone. I don't think there was a lot he could do against a perfect throw, but those two deep pass breakups for him those have been few and far between for Ohio State defensive backs, cornerbacks specifically, all year. He made them. He looked healthy. He didn't have to play every single snap in that game, which is also good. Jordan Hancock is certainly trending in the right direction as well. The two of them working together was really successful for Ohio State in the secondary. He's got one more week here to build and get that confidence rolling before the one that he's really looking forward to, where he had to go fight for his life and for his Achilles last year and didn't get a bunch of assistance, which goes back to a conversation that I had on Tuesday on Snap Judgments about the culture and the change there. If that happened again, I would bet $1 million that Cam Brown was not fighting by himself. We'll see how that transpires. But that was a big game for him, and I thought that the whole second half would trend up for him. He didn't get that opportunity because of a setback with his knee. He's on the other side of that now, and as long as he stays on that path, then that stock is going way up.
You mean second half of the season?
I said it at the mid-season stock. I'm like,
I just want to make sure that people don't think he had a
second
setback
half
in
of
the game.
God. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I believe for Ohio State to win the national championship, Cam Brown has to play every snap essentially that matters in the next month and a half. So
right.
I can't disagree with you there. You did mention Jordan Hancock. He was going to be my next guy, so I'm going to shift away from him.
You don't have to.
No, I have to.
Okay.
That's the rule. We can't all have the same stock. You took a 1.5 stocks.
Well, making moves.
That's almost 2 stocks.
Too many stocks is what it was.
Sorry.
I'm going to say stock up on Cody Simon. Again, we've certainly talked about him a lot this season because Ohio State has played a number of offenses that forced them to put out 3 linebackers, which is not really Jim Knowles' bread and butter. But when Cody's been out there, he's played very, very well. It may not happen this weekend against Maryland because they are a little bit more spread and mix up their run-pass stuff a little bit. But as you look ahead to Michigan, a team that is clearly going to try at times to put 7 offensive linemen on the field and just run the ball down Ohio State's throat like they did last November, Cody Simon's going to be very important. And I think that his role has been a little bit understated this year because the Buckeyes have played offenses that feel like they can't score. But him getting out there and doing things, and for a player that could have left and could have went somewhere else and then realized, hey, this defense is going to be 2 linebackers most of the time, he stuck it out. He's finding a role, and I think he'll play an important part of things moving forward, especially against Michigan and then whichever Big Ten West option team they play.
You mean like they are an option team?
No, like
or
whatever.
An option from
no, like Iowa, Wisconsin,
well, Iowa's
Northwestern,
kind of an option team.
Illinois, whoever they're playing. Like they're going to just run the ball 60 times. So
yeah, they're going to try to sit on that thing. Right. That's for sure. It'll be a fun night in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I can't wait to cover that.
I will go. This is probably more like a flat stock, but it's pointed back in the right direction. I think with Matthew Jones, who we've talked about the last couple of weeks, is a guy who had just not been playing very well, and I think was hampered by injuries, and that's probably the lead cause of why he wasn't playing well. Played maybe his best game against Indiana, and also probably in a tougher spot with an inexperienced guy playing next to him at right tackle and Josh Fryer. There were a couple of standout moments for Matt. Great job pulling on the Xavier Johnson long touchdown run. There was a pass earlier in that game where Indiana ran a twist and Matthew Jones was engaged on the guy with Luke Whippler, saw the twist coming, popped off of it, and knocked the guy to the ground before he get to C.J. Stroud. And I think C.J. completed a pass to Marvin. Was that ball that was kind of behind Marvin that he made his first crazy catch on? So it was a good bounce back for him. I won't say it's fully up and above a flat line at the moment because I think he needs to keep building on it, but it was good to see him get back on track.
You know you didn't have to pick nothing but offensive linemen to start, right?
Yeah, but I like it. No one talks about him enough.
Do what you like.
We talk about him a lot when they play poorly and not enough when they play well.
You know who also stock is that? Justin Fields.
Wow. That's a great segue.
Is Jeff Okuda's?
Yes, one would say it is also, but no one in the NFL has a stock up higher right now than Justin Fields, despite the fact that his team refuses to let him win games.
Yeah, so we went down to Grove City again to talk to Card Collector 2. He showed off a little bit of his Justin Fields collection as the prices skyrocket for Justin Fields in that card stock market. We're going to go down there. We're going to magically transport. We'll be back in here to talk some more about our current Ohio State stock watch picks on the podcast daily. All right, we're back in Grove City for a special edition of the Stock Watch. We're at Card Collector 2 with Card Collector 2, Ryan Johnson. And we've got a couple more cards to look at with somebody in the NFL who I've long had some high expectations for, and it's nice to see them coming to fruition. And we're also about a week and a half away from the game, so Ryan is getting a little nervous, I think.
Yeah, a little nervous would be the understatement of the day, for sure.
Okay, so this will be the third round that we've been in here to get a stock watch with you. Yep. And to hang out down here. The last time we were down here, I was just asking you to be putting on your scarlet and gray glasses and your fan view and not just from the card perspective. who has impressed you the most? Has anyone in the last 3-4 weeks heading into this closing stretch jumped up on your radar that's really impressed you that you maybe didn't expect?
Yeah, a couple guys. I don't know about didn't expect, right? Ohio State definitely recruits the top end guys here. Two guys that I think have really stood out to me, Lathan. Lathan Ransom looks really good, right? Thorpe semifinalist. And then JTT, right? When he plays, right? When JTT gets out there, he looks really, really good. He's just dominant. And I feel like we didn't quite see that last year from anybody. Like we've had Chase, we've had the Bosa brothers, so we've kind of been spoiled for so long. So to see JTT, especially against Penn State, right? When you really need him, big time game.
Yeah, one of the greatest games in college football history. And you wonder, like, do they have autos out there in the world? Like, he doesn't have anything out there, so it's tough for from your perspective on the business side. It doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, and I would say it's funny because I think if you look at the offensive MVP and the defensive MVP, right? Stroud's going to be up there for offensive, like most important person on the team, but Marvin's probably not far off that, and he doesn't have cards either. So it's interesting that two of, I would say probably the top 3 guys for the Buckeyes right now don't have anything. Stroud has plenty. You can definitely get Stroud rookies and autographs and that kind of stuff. But Marvin and JTT do not have any cards at the moment.
When do you think that, so I would assume with the way that like Panini is handling the collegiate license currently, that they're starting to plan 2023 releases.
Yep.
We saw CJ Stroud involved in those. They would have to start, I think, making some of those deals pretty soon. Like, how do you anticipate that you would see Tuimoloau, Marvin Harrison stuff in next year's product, or how will that work?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more their willingness to want to be involved in that, right? I would imagine they're going to be offered to be in those things. I can't imagine why they wouldn't be.
Right, sure.
But yeah, I mean, that stuff's, they're going to start preparing for some of that stuff now. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing them in products in early next season. They're likely going to be All-Americans. They're some of the best in the country. I just can't see any reason outside of them not wanting to do it why they wouldn't be in 2023 releases.
Okay, so Justin Fields was one of the most athletic, incredible quarterbacks that I've ever covered. Just when I thought like maybe it could never get better, CJ Stroud has come along and played at a higher level. But the things that I've seen physically from Justin Fields or saw, like he's taken that to a level. He's set an NFL record for rushing yards, then nearly topped it the next week. So I think maybe the first year, and I know because I have a lot of them, you know, his cards, the market wasn't quite as high for him as Mac Jones, it was for Trevor Lawrence. And I was like, well, it's a good time to maybe scoop it up if you still believed in him. Is it going the other way now? Is it on the rise now that he's doing this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if there's many people, especially in football right now, that over the last 2 to 3 weeks, their stuff is hotter. I saw a statistic the other day that said that the Bears are the first team in the NFL history to score 29 points in 3 straight games and lose all 3 games.
Maybe don't trade away all your defensive players, Bears. Just an idea.
Yeah, and he's also throwing to, not caliber, not tier 1 wide receivers. So, yeah, he looks amazing. It was 178, 179 rush yards in a game. He's quick. It's something we didn't really see a ton of at Ohio State, right? He was a lot more in the pocket, but he's fast, super, super fast. He looks really, really good. Unfortunately, the Bears don't look good, but Fields is going to be good. I would imagine at this point they're going to be near the top of the draft. Hopefully can get a playmaker and pair him with something because he's good, and I think you could definitely build around him.
It seems like he's doing enough right now that the Bears' success maybe doesn't matter as you're planning for like the national convention in 2023.
Yeah.
Like he's doing enough that some of what you've got here, and these are really cool Ohio State patches, that one anyway, those are going to be on the rise no matter what because he's shown that he's an elite quarterback or can be.
Yep. And I think that's important, right? He wasn't drafted necessarily to a team that was super, super successful. He was drafted to hopefully bring some success there. So we got a couple different pieces. You got what's cool about this one, right? One of the bigger things in sports cards is having the serial number match a player's jersey number, right? So there's only 10 of this Justin Fields autograph made, and the serial number is 1, which is the number of
jersey number,
his jersey number. So that's kind of a cool piece there. That'll bring a little bit more of a premium than say 3 of 10. Now that's a 1 of 1. That was actually that was something we picked up at the National. That was actually a gift from a fellow card collector. But again, just the unique Buckeye piece. It's unfortunately blue, right? We definitely don't.
I was going to say, if it's a 1 of 1, why did they can just make it a different color?
We could make it anything else. But unfortunately, it's blue. But yeah, 1 of 1 rookie of Fields, and then you've got a nice piece from the helmet.
Oh yeah, that's sick.
A lot of variety.
The most iconic helmet for me. Yep. I know a lot of people disagree. They say maybe on the other side of the rivalry, that one's up there. The silver bullet and the stripe, they're iconic to me. I know they are for you.
Yep.
They're going to go head to head in 10 days or so.
Yep.
What's your score prediction right now for the game?
42-24.
42-24.
Yep.
I know it'll change every day until then, but at least we got you locked in for now. Stock watches, they go up and down. We're going to track. I'm going to ask him every day until November 26th what Card Collector 2 is expecting for the game. It's coming. And it's the one we've been waiting a whole year for.
Oh, man.
Can't wait the coverage. We're going to ramp it up for that. But we're also going to get back to the stock watch. We appreciate Ryan. Back to the rest of the show. Thanks to Ryan Johnson again for having us into the shop in Grove City, Card Collector 2. Check it out. He's got some Justin Fields stuff for you if you want to add to your collection or invest for the future, which cards are one of the safest investments out there, Bill, right?
Foolproof. Yeah. You want to get rich, buy cards.
That's 100% correct. Berm, who else is on your mind?
I'm going to say flat stock here for Julian Fleming. I think that he had a really good run early in the year, and I'm wondering for a guy that hasn't really been asked to play a full season, if maybe he's starting to get a little fatigued and wear down just a skosh. He had a rough game at Northwestern, dropped what would have been a clear touchdown on Saturday against Indiana on a perfectly thrown ball by C.J. Stroud, maybe the best ball Stroud threw the entire day, to be honest, other than maybe the one that Marvin caught for the touchdown on the similar route. But I think that ultimately Julian is a guy that the Buckeyes are really going to need against Michigan if things are going to go the way they want it to. So I think that he's a guy that I'm watching to see if that confidence is an interesting thing with young receivers, because he's obviously dealt with a lot of his own issues, and now you're starting to see the play level off just a skosh, and you hope that he's able to kick it back into high gear over these next 2 weeks.
I like skosh as a word. Stock up on skosh. Have you only given one this entire?
Well, he said that I gave 2 with Jordan Hancock.
So that didn't count.
I thought he was going to hold me to that. So,
but you asked me to just.
I think punt returning stock is sinking.
It's under the turf
and bottoming
out. It's like FTX.
I don't want to belabor this point because I know that it's not an actual option to just not put anybody back. I do think that it's worth popping that out there a couple times a game and taking your shot and putting up there. Obviously, you can have some punt safe situations and not let somebody fake. And I understand that Ryan Day brought this up, which I didn't fully consider, which is if you try and block every single punt, you might get a bunch of roughing the punter penalties. I didn't ask him about that because I didn't think it was something they were seriously going to consider, but he did, unprompted, bring up a counter argument to this problem that does not seem to be going away for Ohio State. I cannot for the life of me understand why the struggles have lasted as long as they have, not just this season, but multiple seasons. I don't know what else to say about it. Now, they did get creative, and Parker Fleming drew up on the sideline. They scribbled out a way for Lathan Ransom to get in there and block a punt, and lo and behold, it worked. Using one of the best athletes in the country to attack a punter seems like a pretty good idea and a good strategy.
It also helps if no one blocks you.
Yeah,
like that's the best. That's the best way to block a punt.
What did you guys see in Indiana's punt?
They don't
team?
block.
Oh, they don't block that guy.
That guy wasn't blocking.
Yeah, sometimes that will happen. And guess what? We've also seen key punt blocks in games that, like one that would maybe be played on November 26th this year. So you can't afford turnovers when you're fielding punts. That's my biggest issue with it. Moving beyond the fact that I've long been puzzled by the fact that Ohio State can't take a punt back for a touchdown. Now they're having difficulties just consistently catching them, and that can't happen. We've also seen that like kickoff situations against Michigan in the past, and losing field position, losing possession that way. That's unacceptable in that game, and it's got to be addressed somehow. And I think an option is to not just put anybody back there, because then no one can muff it.
You know who I put back there?
Cameron Martinez?
Well, yes. Probably more seriously, yes. But as a segue to what I wanted to say next, Xavier Johnson.
Okay.
Someone asked me on Twitter this week whether or not NFL personnel took notice of what Xavier Johnson was able to do on Saturday. No, the NFL personnel did not tell me. I have no idea. But like, I thought it was like a fun question because that guy is just like a really good football player, and I have an appreciation for players like that. So like, I don't know what he's going to do moving forward. I don't think he's someone who can carry the ball like 10 times a game for Ohio State's offense, nor do I think he should be treated that way. But I like what he gives them as a receiving threat out of the backfield. I like what he does when they have to put him in the slot to give a guy like Emeka Egbuka some rest.
Mm-hmm.
He has caught the ball on kickoff return, which is step one of the process, if you just alluded to. Maybe he can do it on punt team as well. And I don't know what his NFL future is, but he'll probably just be like, what's that guy on the Patriots who played like 15 years as a special teamer and won like 1 million Super Bowls?
Nate Ebner?
No, Matt Slater, is that his name?
Yeah.
Nate Ebner.
That's what Xavier Johnson's going to be.
He's a
The
good player.
Patriots have like 10 of those guys.
Yeah.
We could name a bunch more.
He's a good football player, and he does all the right things. And, Ryan Day talked about him on Tuesday. That's a player that could have been playing somewhere around the country. I mean, he's on scholarship now at Ohio State, so it's not like he's not still a walk-on, but he could be playing a prominent role in a number of offenses around the country. I believe it's your turn. You have to pick 3 guys.
Okay. Well, this will be 3.5, I believe.
Mm-hmm. We'll allow it.
Okay.
Dallin Hayden somehow slipped all the way down here, so I'll grab that stock at a nice value. Probably got a big bump by the way he played on Saturday. Ohio State continues to emphasize one thing over all others, which is ball security for a true freshman. In games, that's not been a problem for him. We've not seen the ball coming loose, and we've definitely not seen a ball pop out and go on the ground. So those things are stock ups for him in live settings. And he's going to need, I think, to play a lot on Saturday against Maryland. It's great for the future. It's also a little bit of security because Ohio State has the ongoing issues with injuries. We won't know for sure until, Saturday at 9 a.m. or probably actually earlier than that. But by Friday with the travel roster with Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson and what they want to do there and Chip Trainum, how many carries he could take, whether Xavier Johnson is going to assist there. But you add up all those things collectively, it points to one thing, and that's that Dallin Hayden, if he's going to need to take a lot of carries, and he's going to need to be as productive as he was last week against Indiana.
Yep, Maryland makes me think of Marcus Crowley, and another guy that you think about that room and how different the running back room for Ohio State could have been this year, and you're going to be put out there in a situation where people are going to count on you really for, to step up and make plays the way Dallin has. He's got 200-yard games this year, to run the ball for almost 500 yards. And no one would have expected that.
No.
So you definitely have to take him in that stock up position, and not just for the season, but for his career at Ohio State, because there was, a lot of people believed that he was just sort of the stopgap in the 2022 class until you get to 23, and then you find better running backs. And Dallin has been really, really good.
Yep, he's lived up to or surpassed the expectations at this point, really. I mean, I don't think any 3 of us would have said Dallin Hayden is going to have this many yards rushing or this many touchdowns at this point, or that he could be playing a key, potentially starting role in Week 11 at Maryland. But that could
Seems
very
likely.
well be the case on Saturday at 3:30. We will, of course, have full coverage of that on the podcast and ohiostate.rivals.com. A lot more coming your way the rest of the week. We're just on Wednesday. We're halfway there. We'll have some Woody Wednesday evening coverage and Buckeye Q coming later, and then a lot more Thursday, Friday in the build-up towards Ohio State, Maryland, Saturday, 3:30. That's Bill Burr. I'm Austin. We will see you later.
Bye.